Have you ever had a foundation that is too yellow? And for a foundation that's too yellow, you would want to use a purple or violet shade adjuster. If you're a lighter skin tone, you could use a color corrector, but as dark as I am, this will lighten my foundation too much. And you only need a little bit. You can always add more if it's not enough. So always start out with some and add more as needed. I just put in a little. We'll see if that's enough. Yeah, I think I could use a little bit more. It's a subtle variation. I put that one on at first, it was quite bright. And now it's not. It's not because I've actually darkened it, it's just because it's less yellow on me. Okay, let's say you have a foundation that is too deep. And that would work on parts of my face, but it is just way too deep for my whole face. So if you have a foundation that's too deep, you can either mix it with a lighter foundation, or if you have a color corrector that is of the similar undertone, you can use that. And peach, just out of one of the colors I actually used to highlight. I like this little palette because I can actually take that off and put that up there, and when I mix everything and see how that works. So we just got that. Okay, so we had a foundation that was too deep. Can we even? And I just added in a bit of this peach color corrector. And that did lighten it, but I think it made it a little bit too ashy for me, which means that the undertone probably wasn't right. Or if you do need to add back in, like for my case, I'm red. This is by Cover Effects. Anyway, it's in the shade Brick. The other color corrector I was using, that peach one, is something I got from Wish for $1, so I have no idea what the brand is. Just a tiny little bit. Smash that right in the middle. This looks like it has life in it again, so I probably do have the right tone. Let's see, so this one was too deep. This one was with the corrector. This is with both correctors. Yeah, I think that would be acceptable. So I could probably get away with that one after powder and blush and everything, but I would prefer it not be so flat. So that's why I added in a little bit of red to bring the life back to it. Okay, so if you have a foundation that is too deep and also a little bit too red, you can use a corrector in a lighter tone. So this here is Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Earth. I don't have a shade that I can wear straight out of the container with Anastasia because this one's just a little bit too dark. Ebony is way too warm red, and Walnut is the right shade of cool red, but not dark enough. So this is Earth. It's a little bit too deep for me. Find my corrector. And since it's a little bit too deep and a little bit too red, green cancels out red, and since it's lighter, just go ahead and use that. Okay, so mix that in, and it lightens it. And also neutralizes some of the red. So that's what that foundation looks like fixed. Here's another foundation that is a little too dark for me. The undertone looks like it would work, so I don't really want to affect the undertone. I would use another foundation that has the undertone that works for me. In this case, the Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Walnut. It is a very good undertone, but it's too light for me. Here I had to mute the sound because my kids came back in from playing outside and the boys were being quite loud and rambunctious. So, say you have a foundation, another foundation that is too dark. Red is good for brightening foundations and other things for darker skin tones. So you could always take another foundation if you happen to have one that's way too red. In this case, this foundation here. Sorry, I got distracted. My cat is going crazy because I just turned on the fan. So if we mix my 2 deep foundation and my 2 red foundation, we can come up with a shade that works a little better. I'll actually put some of my 2 red directly on this one that was too deep. Mix it in. You can see how that works. This is also why an orange or red color corrector works well on darker spots and discolorations under foundations. It just kind of brightens everything out. So even though that is possibly a bit too deep still, when it matches my forehead is darker than the rest of my face. I think that is an acceptable color that I could get away with. So another option if you have a foundation that is too dark. This actually only works if you don't mind having a dewy look. But I have a Pro Foundation Mixer by NYX. This is in the shade Luminous. It matches my undertone, but it also lightens the foundation a bit. And then also, since it does have the luminous properties, it reflects light, which also helps to make the foundation more balanced on my skin. So this is what the luminous looks like. If I mix that in with my foundation, well, actually, let me put it next to one that was too dark so you can actually see it better. It brightens it up just a bit. And then with the light reflecting particles, it's just easier too. Where I'll mix this in with that there. Get foundation under my nail. So there's another option for helping to fix a foundation that might be too deep for you. Okay, so this is another option for if your foundation is too red. Foundation here on my palette. I have the color correcting drops from Tim 2. This is Chrome Green. This one's aqua based. Remember, a little bit goes a long way. And I probably just put down too much already. So there's green. So I mixed in green to neutralize the red. You can see there, that would just be a little bit more acceptable. That is another option for adjusting a foundation that is too red. Let's say you have a foundation that is too light. Well, there's a couple things. First, if it's way too light, just don't use it. Because if you try to adjust it too much, it'll change the formula too much, and so that way it'll end up being the wrong consistency. It won't have the same coverage. It may not keep the same properties you bought the foundation for. But if it's just a little bit too light, you do have the option of using it to highlight. Or you could also mix it with one of the foundations that you have that might be too deep. You can also use, of course, a deepener. I have two different deepeners here. I have the NYX Pro Foundation Mixer in Deep. And then I also have another darkener. This is a darkening shade adjusting drop by Body Shop. The one from Body Shop costs about twice as much, but it does have a more neutral undertone, so it doesn't really affect the warmth or coolness of your foundation. But also you do have to use a lot more to get the right deepness. With the NYX drops, they are so deep that you don't need to use nearly as much. So you can actually kind of see through the bottle there the difference. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to not make this a mess. Okay, so this is the NYX darkening drops, or deep, and this is the Body Shop darkening drops. Mixing in the Body Shop drops with my foundation on one side. So I wiped off my spatula, and now I am mixing in the NYX darkening drops, which has more of a cool undertone, which I appreciate. But if you do have a warm undertone and you don't want your foundation to be cooler or neutralized, then if you put in the NYX darkening drops, I do suggest buying the warmth. You can use that to add back in some warmth to your foundation. This will lighten it a bit though, so you might need more of the darkening. I think that's mixed enough. So this side here, this is the foundation mixed with the NYX darkening drops. Wipe this off, clean spatula. And then this one here is the Body Shop darkening drops mixed in with the foundation. So depending on your lighting, it might not be as obvious, but the NYX drops definitely do have a cooler undertone, and the Body Shop ones, at least in my opinion, they might have a warmer undertone, but I think it's just neutral because I haven't seen it affecting the undertone too much. Those are two options for darkening your foundation, other than mixing it with a darker foundation that you already have, or using it as a highlight. So I think those are all of the tips I can think of that I've personally used for adjusting my foundations. If anybody has any questions about other options for other problems that I didn't address, please feel free to ask me. If I know of anything, I would be more than happy to give you tips. Or if I think of anything else that I may have failed to mention, other options, I will either do another video or just post those tips down in the comments. But please like this video, share with your friends, and thank you for watching.